Now I'm going to explain to you how people with diabetes struggle to control blood glucose levels. So I'm drawing the pancreas, the blood vessels, and the cells. On the cells, you've got insulin receptors on the cells. And after a meal, the blood glucose levels will increase. That's what I'm showing here. The blood glucose levels increasing in the blood. In a type 1 diabetic, the pancreas produces no insulin. No insulin is produced by the pancreas, which is a problem. So type 1 diabetics, they use insulin injections. So they're going to inject insulin into their bloodstream. So it is this insulin injected after a meal that is going to bind the insulin receptors. So type 1 diabetics inject insulin, and it's this insulin that is going to bind the insulin receptors on the cells. Otherwise, the glucose channels won't open. So now the insulin is bound, the glucose channels in the cell will open. So the glucose channels in the cell membranes will open. This will lead to glucose exiting the blood into the cells, lowering the blood glucose concentrations of the type 1 diabetic. So it lowers the glucose levels in the blood. This glucose is then used for respiration in the mitochondria of these cells. Pause the video here to attempt to practice using the keywords. The answers will follow. Pause the video here to go through your answers, make any corrections if you need to, and rewatch the video if you still don't understand. So in type 2 diabetics, when glucose levels increase in the blood, the pancreas will secrete insulin. Pancreas does secrete insulin. So in type 2 diabetics, insulin is produced. However, on their insulin receptors on the cells, there are fat molecules that bind the insulin receptors that block insulin from binding. So the insulin can no longer bind all the receptors. It can still bind some, but not all. So it opens fewer glucose channels, so less glucose exits the blood into the cells. So the glucose levels remain high. Pause the video here to attempt to practice using the keywords. The answers will follow. The pancreas of type 1 diabetics produce no insulin. So they take insulin injections. The insulin binds the insulin receptors of cells, opening glucose channels. Glucose leaves the blood into the cells and is used for respiration in the mitochondria. The pancreas of type 2 diabetics produce insulin. Because fat interferes with insulin receptors, the insulin can't bind. So only those insulin receptors that can be bound will open the glucose channels. Some glucose enters cells from the blood, but much glucose can stay in the blood. It's question time. Attempt these questions to check your understanding. Press pause to answer the questions. The answers are going to follow, and if you're stuck, just rewatch the video. Press pause to go through your answers and make any corrections to your mistakes. If you made any mistakes, go back and watch the video again.